You're beaten, you're gone, you're finito. There's absolutely no chance whatsoever that you will catch up on me. Why? Because, well, I'm the greatest. I am simply the greatest. These are not my words because I'm not the greatest. But if I was, you'd be beaten. You'd be out the gate, gone, kaput. These are the words, though, of champions. Well, true champions, people that have actually done it, and not only done it, but continue to do it. These are the words of the likes of Michael Jordan and Usain Bolt. And now I'm going to look today at the comparison of Michael Jordan and Usain Bolt. Because they're both very different people. They're both very different sports that they competed in. But there's one thing about both Michael Jordan and Usain Bolt. Even though Jordan was from basketball and Bolt was primarily, of course, from athletics and primarily from the 100 meters, both were seriously competitive. And how competitive were they? Well, they won everything. They wiped it out of the way. Michael Jordan won six NBA titles. And he did that in 8 years. Now that's 6 out of 8. You can just calculate the percentages. That's just huge. Then you had switch over to our friend Usain Bolt, and he was a treble 100 meter Olympic winning runner, sprinter in the 100 meters. Again, I said it twice because he was twice as good as anybody else. He even did the 200. He was brilliant. He was unique. Huge as a man was Bolt. He was like 6'5", 6'6", really tall. Really a thing that you wouldn't think would be extremely successful because he was just out of the characteristics framework of essentially a great sprinter. You take Liverpool Christie, you take Michael Johnson, you take these kind of guys before him. These were big, tall men, powerful more so though than actually lanky as being extremely tall. So Bolt didn't really kind of fit into the round hole. A Bolt in the round hole? Interesting. But for sure, his characteristics of his long legs, long arms, and just big upper body were used because the power of how he ran just was fully utilized to get him from the start right up through to the end. And not just for the 100, but as I said, for the 200. In fact, the thing about his style was that Bolt could sprint and start as known in the blocks where he's low down, his knees are bent, as are all the competitors at the very start of a sprint race. But by the time he elongates his frame, he's beginning to get those legs moving, start them chopping. And that's where smaller sprinters are going to have a huge advantage over the first 10, 15, 20, even 40 or 50 meters because essentially Bolt, a man that big, is not going to be able to get erect, get his posture upright, where he's fully in the flow, and only then is when his stride will start to lengthen out, and that's when he gets the advantage of his size. So that's what happened with Bolt. He actually had to start from a disadvantage simply because of his size and his frame. If we look at Jordan then physically, he was 6'6", again, similar type of frame as such, or height as such, but he was in a sport where being much bigger was an advantage. In fact, being over the 7 foot mark was the advantage for the likes of basketball in the NBA. For example, one of the shots he made later on in his career when he was just bereft of energy and he was older, he was well into his 30s at this stage, looking to get his 6th championship. He knew, and it was said on The Last Dance, the brilliant documentary by Netflix in 2020, he knew that he could cut inside from the left wing or he could shoot, make himself available for the shot. But he just wiggled and then slightly pushed off a player or handed off a player, and then he got that 3-pointer. But he knew he could cut inside because he still had that ability, that athletic ability, even though he was tired, to wiggle in, and he was diminutive enough even though he was tall. So they had totally different athletic abilities, but they were similar in size. And then of course Jordan could just do that Air Jordan. He could just jump and hang in the air. Something that course, the man himself, Bolt, didn't have to jump. But then Bolt was hugely competitive insofar as he even bet his friends and his compadres that trained with him that he would not just win in the Olympics in his sprinting categories, but he would also be able to throw the javelin, believe it or not. And this wasn't a thing that he was used or even qualified to do in the Olympics, to compete in the javelin. But as a way of fun and entertainment, he bet his compadres that he would be able to do this javelin. And it went from 40 meters or so that he said, I'll do 50. I'll be able to do 50. And then it went to, believe it or not, 60. So even his coach, who knew and realised the spirit of fun that Usain Bolt wanted to be coached in and the environment that he wanted to be around, this fun and enjoyment that he liked, he intercepted the conversation that Usain Bolt had with his friends and his trainers, who bet that he couldn't do that distance in the javelin. And he just, when he was asked, the coach said, well, knowing Bolt and knowing how Bolt would like it, he said, well, yeah, I think you can do it, but I think you'll need a few warm-up throws first, so that he could get to give Usain Bolt a further chance of even getting that 50 or 60 meters as such in the actual throw. And of course, Bolt found this hilarious. He found this really, really, really funny. So this was a really good thing, and this was a way of liking things in training. If we compare that to Michael Jordan then in training, it's different. Jordan was seriously competitive, and that actually made him serious. Now, the thing about Jordan was he did like a bit of fun. You can see it in, again, The Last Dance, but in that particular series, you can see the fact that he was remonstrating, he was directing the fun. It was him that was dictating, in fact, what the jokes were, what was being said in the dressing room or the locker room. One of the earlier jokes was against the manager of the team, and he said that, you need to be on diet pills because the guy was overweight. But in fact, he actually had an illness underlying. Of course, Jordan probably didn't know about this, or maybe he did, who knows? Because that was the thing with Jordan. Even though he liked to project a bit of fun and inject such a bit of fun, it was more so after the training, after the game was won. This was when he looked at his lightest. This was when he pulled out the cigar. This was when he would say that he was going to go play some other sport like golf and shoot a few holes. So Bolt was more likeable in that regard. He was more like a child, like I said. He was more just in the moment, whereas Jordan was more serious. There was that cutting ability to him. He used to kind of rid Scott Burnell because Scott was, he had ability. He was just an easygoing character. Whereas Jordan, he never actually tried to project his humour on somebody unless there was a reason. Then there was for Jordan the fact that when he was in training, he bashed with people. And this really, really happened where an opposing player would back down to Jordan. And when it happened to him, he just wasn't ready for it because he was used to that almost bullying technique of using his trash talk with players. And this was just even players on his own team. He actually respected that. So that's where the depth was with Jordan. There was a deeper element with Jordan there than what was with Bolt, because Bolt was just that happy-go-lucky personality underneath it all. With regard to training then, Bolt hated training. He absolutely hated training. He has said that he just didn't enjoy it. He knew that behind it all, he would compete and enjoy competing. He actually loved competing. So he ground his way through the training. Even when he was going for his third Olympic 100 metre gold in 2016, that particular season he was demotivated, completely demotivated. All of his trainers, his coaches, his people, his motivators around him, they just found it impossible. And he couldn't find motivation until he saw a video. And he saw a video of Justin Gatlin, one of the American sprinters who wanted to take Usain Bolt's crown off him. And then he saw American commentators on sprinting speaking about how Bolt was going to lose, and more so that the Americans were going to win. They were going to Rio, they were going to win the Olympic gold. And this straight away just clicked something within him, within Usain Bolt, something deep went inside of him, and he just became super motivated. He got up the next morning, he was up at 5:30 a.m. and he was training so hard on muscles in order to make him stronger, faster, that he vomited every day for days after that. The national finals of Jamaica, his teammate as such on the sprint team, but obviously an individual competitor with him, Johan Blake, beat him on the line. And when he beat him, he started using this finger and started kind of gesturing as if he was the number one. Usain Bolt won the gold in the Olympic Games. When he was on the line and he was crossing the line, he popped up his finger to signify that I have it. I'm the number one. I can't be taught, I'll teach you. Similarly, Michael Jordan used things that people said to him so that he could motivate himself. In fact, one time he was trash talked as such by an opponent, and he looked at him and said, you know, I'm the Black Jesus. I'm the guy. In other words, I'm your savior. I'm the savior of basketball. This is how good I am. So I tried to be as big as those guys, and here's what happened. I tried my very best to do a bit of a Jordan-esque and also a bit of a Bolt-esque start, just for fun. Until next time though, I hope you've had fun and I hope you enjoyed the video, so please subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, well, thank you very much. Please do though. Have a wonderful day.